So, you know how we're always hearing about AI getting smarter, faster, more logical? Well, what if the next big leap isn't about logic at all? Today, we're diving into this really fascinating project, one that's building an AI that doesn't just think, it dreams. And really, this one question is at the heart of everything we're going to talk about. I mean, what does happen when you try to program imagination? When all those weird, kind of random connections our brains make when we're asleep, what if those become a feature, not a bug in a machine? It sounds pretty wild, right? So let's actually dig into how they're pulling this off. Okay, so this really gets to the core of what they're trying to do. On one hand, you've got today's AI. It's an absolute master of logic, of finding patterns, but the whole goal with MindBot Ultra is to create something different, something that keeps all that amazing logical power and bolts on this rich, inventive, maybe even a little weird, creative layer. And this is really the whole philosophy behind it. They call it the Dreaming Edition because it's built to harmonize these two things that seem like total opposites, right? You've got hardcore, fact-based reasoning, and then this totally free-flowing, imaginative side. The big hope is that by bringing them together, you end up with a more complete and maybe even a more empathetic AI.
All right, so how in the world do you even start to teach a machine to dream? Well, it turns out you start with its reading list. You've probably heard this before, but for any AI, the data it's trained on is everything. It's its destiny. And the data they're using to fuel this thing's imagination, it is nothing like a standard training set. We're talking about a data set built on pure surrealism. Just take a look at this. This is a real, actual sample from its training data. I mean, it's not factual. It's not literal at all. It's poetic, it's abstract, and it's just intentionally strange. This is the kind of stuff they're feeding it. This is the raw material it's using to learn how to make those really unexpected, dreamlike jumps between different ideas. And the inspirations get even more wonderfully weird and specific. They're basically forcing the AI to see the world like an artist. Think about it. It's being trained to link a full moon to ancient stories, to see Salvador Dali's melting clocks in, of all things, the physics of time dilation. It's even being asked to find the poetry in a function written in Python. The whole point is to teach it to find the lyricism in everything. And listen, this wasn't just some tiny little experiment they ran on a weekend. The team put together a massive creative data set. We're talking 2,255 unique, surreal, introspective entries. This shows you it wasn't a side project. No, this was a serious, really structured effort to build a totally new kind of foundation for an AI. Okay, so you've got the fuel, right? You've got all this surreal data. The next challenge is the big one. It's the technical puzzle. How do you train an AI to be a poet without accidentally making it a terrible logician? That's what this next part is all about. The method they use to train these two very different minds inside one single machine. The key technical term you need to know here is fine-tuning. And it's actually a pretty simple idea. Think of it like this. You take a really smart general-purpose AI, one that knows a little bit about everything, and you send it to grad school. You give it this super intense, specialized training on a very narrow data set. And by doing that, you turn it into an expert in one specific skill. In this case, that skill is dreaming. So the whole training process breaks down into two main stages. It's pretty clever. First, they create two separate specialists. You've got the reasoning module, which gets trained only on facts and logic, and then you have the dreaming module, which is fed only that surreal, creative data. They're kept totally separate at first. Then, in step 2, they bring them together. They use this reward system to basically teach these two different minds how to play nicely and work together, finding that perfect sweet spot between being factually correct and creatively interesting. And this right here, this is the secret sauce. It's something they call a synergy controller. You can think of it like the conductor of an orchestra inside the AI. Its whole job is to look at what you're asking it to do and then decide which part of the AI should take the lead. If it's a math problem, it hands it to the logician. If you want a poem, it passes it to the dreamer. It's the ultimate referee between fact and fantasy.
Okay, so a technology like this is obviously really, really exciting, but it also opens up a whole can of worms, doesn't it? I mean, when you are intentionally designing an AI to hallucinate, to dream, you're walking this incredibly fine line. There's so much promise, but also a lot of peril. So let's talk about that. What are the safety rails and what's the upside?
And the risks are very real. If you encourage an AI to have creative hallucinations, that could super easily spill over into just plain wrong, dangerous misinformation. So that reward system we talked about, it has to be absolutely ruthless about punishing any factual mistakes. And since it can write code, all of that code has to be locked up tight in a secure sandbox environment so it can't do any damage. And probably the most important rule, for any decision that really matters, a human has to be in the loop, no exceptions. But on the flip side, the potential is just massive. Just think about it for a second. An AI that doesn't just proofread an artist's work, but actually helps them get unstuck from a creative block. Or what about educational tools that can explain super complex topics using beautiful metaphors and stories? This could really unlock a much richer, maybe more empathetic way for machines to think. And that's just with text. Imagine when future versions start dreaming in images and audio. So yeah, this project is a huge step in a really fascinating new direction for AI. But it leaves us all with this massive fundamental question, one I think we're going to be wrestling with for a long, long time. As we build these incredible new systems, are we actually teaching machines how to create, or are we just getting really, really good at teaching them how to imitate what creativity looks like to us? It's a lot to think about.